Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I am bringing you another character review, this time for the new and lovely Kate Bishop. Now, you guys might be wondering why I chose this character out of all we have in the game. Well, she's new, she's a speed character, and she's been getting a lot of love lately as far as Extreme Alliance battle goes, and as far as vying for that top spot in a very low tier, low power level speed class in general. And I personally think she's one of the best, if not the best, speed character that we have in the game now. She's farmable, she's sassy, and I wanted to bring you guys a review just to showcase what she can do, her limitations, how you should gear her if you do have her, and why you should invest in her if you're on the fence about it and you're thinking about whether to drop some cash or drop some tickets or rank ups and stuff like that. So let's jump into the review, guys. Let's see what Kate Bishop is all about. So she's part of the Marvel Now initiative. She's the new Hawkeye. The pros of this character are that she has a lot of crowd control on her skills. She's got multiple triggerable iframes, both delayed iframes and instant iframes. She's got good damage for a speed character. Her defense and her survivability is decent, but it really ramps up at tier 2, as does her damage. Overall, I think that she's a high skill cap character to play, so you can't just button mash with her and expect to do well. But I think that when you do master her or get her, playing skill up to par, that she does, DPS with the best of them. She is also slightly farmable right now, so that is a long-term goal for some people out there. If they're wondering about it, you can farm her from Villain Siege. You do have to complete the hard mode mission, but you do get 6 bios every day, which is actually not bad. And you can augment that with Shadowland bio selectors and stuff like that, because she's not a hidden character. She's not one of the A4s. She's not paywall, so you can get her bios that way. As far as the gear option goes for Kate Bishop, she does have physical attack and attack speed on her first gear, which is good. You want to roll the rest like that with either physical or all attack. Next up, she's got movement speed and physical defense, which is not terribly good. And then you want to roll the next ones for all defense. There she has dodge and skill cooldown. Skill cooldown as a second stat is not ideal. You want to see it as that first stat, but it's not bad as long as it's there. You want to roll for HP on the third gear, sunglasses. And then the last one is crit damage and crit rate, which actually seems bad, but it isn't bad, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. And then you want to roll her fourth gear for, whatever you need. Skill cooldown, crit rate, defense penetration. Now, as far as the Obelisk goes for Kate Bishop, you want to consider whether you have her at tier 1 and tier 2. And I'm going to make the argument for why you should probably get her to tier 2 if you're going to invest in her at all, because I think that both her damage and her survivability really jump up a lot when you take her from tier 1 to tier 2. As you can see with her all new Hawkeye tier 2 passive, she gets a massive 20% crit damage, 20% all crit rate increase, and 30% guaranteed dodge. So this is an all-in-one package, and it basically takes the character from, I would say, B tier to a very strong A to A plus tier level. But having said that, the reason why you want to invest in things like crit rate and crit damage is because she's going to have native levels that are already very, very high. And if you couple this crit rate, crit damage, and dodge guarantee with her Calm Aim passive, which is a massive 35% dodge ignore, and her ability, which is another 10% dodge ignore, you can see that Kate Bishop comes out of the gate, especially at tier 2, with massive augmented offensive stats. Not her main offensive stat of physical damage, but the tertiary or the secondary stats that assist and boost up her DPS even more. The crit rate, the crit damage, the ignore, dodge, all of those things are going to just, crank up her damage against all types of enemies, whether you're fighting, Corvus, you're fighting the spiders, you're fighting high defense penetration characters. So if you have Kate Bishop at tier 2, basically, as you can see, the only thing she's missing natively at this point is defense penetration, because she has everything else in spades, as we discussed: the crit rate, the crit damage, and even the dodge ignore. So for the Obelisk, you want to go with defense penetration if she doesn't already have it maxed out from your cards. If she does, you're already well on the way to awesome characters in general. And then you want to further augment her damage by giving her a damage proc like that. You can also think of getting her something like immune to guard break, because as I've said Some of her triggerable iframes have a delay, so you don't want her to get interrupted while she's going through those initial animations before she gets to the iframe. So immune to guard break is also a good idea. You probably don't want to go for something like crit damage, because her crit damage is actually extremely high natively. As you can see here, she's sitting at 160%, and you do get an extra 14% from your alliance, so keep that in mind. But it is valuable to bump up her crit rate. I think that with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of gear ups, you can probably get her crit rate to max, to the cap 75%, which is just insane, and that will skyrocket her DPS, especially for game modes like Extreme Alliance Battle. As far as the ISO 8 set goes, I have seen some people saying that a defensive set is good for her because she does get hit a lot, even though she has the 30% guaranteed dodge. She is a ranged character, but a lot of her arrow-based skills do bring her within melee range of the bosses or the enemies. So there is an argument for the defensive or the HP or the healing sets. I prefer to go with an offensive set like Power of Angry Hulk or Overdrive for that extra defense penetration. But it is up to you depending on your playstyle. If you're getting enough damage out of Kate Bishop, you can go for something like Stark Backing or even an HP bubble like Drastic Density Enhancement. But if you just want to get the most out of her as far as Extreme Alliance Battle goes, and you want to get top scores, then you have to go for something offensive like this. You could also go for Hawk's Eye if you do need the skill cooldown, but I don't think it's necessary for Kate Bishop. Let's jump into some gameplay, guys, just to see how she performs. I picked this day intentionally to show you just how much of a monster she is. We're going to go in against Corvus Glaive. We're going to take her leadership, actually, and we're going to use the same team that I had set up before. This is the same team that I use for Speed Hero Day for Extreme Alliance Battle. We do get 2 bonuses. We get the Hawk's Eye bonus for physical attack, and then very importantly, we get the attack speed, which I desperately need, and then we get another 4% crit rate, and on top of that, her leadership gives her and all her team members 15% crit rate. So that 43% native crit rate is now being jumped up to about 60%, which is just, I mean, over 60%. It's insane. So it's not difficult at all to get into that 75% territory, especially if you can roll a fantastic Obelisk. Like, for example, my Obelisk had a third stat of web resist. If that was even, you know, a 15% crit rate, which is not that high, she would have a capped crit rate with her own leadership. So we're going to see here just how much damage she can do. We're going to see her iframes. We're going to see just how tanky she can be against Corvus. He's not the hardest hitting world boss, but he can deal some damage. Keep in mind, with her native stats, she's only getting about 45% dodge ignore, so we're not even close to you know, the cap. We're only shy of 50%, but I still think we're going to get this one in about 2 minutes on a first try. I haven't tested this out just yet, so we may run into a little bit of problems in the third phase, but I think we can do this against Corvus. But you can see here that even with the wind-up, she's got a lot of survivability on her iframes. Her 5th skill, 4th skill, and 2nd skill are all iframes. The 5th and the 4th are basically instant iframes. I believe the 4th has a very small window before it activates, but the 5th I know for sure is an absolute instant iframe. It interrupts and everything. Unfortunately, the 2nd skill has a little bit of a wind-up. As you can see, those backflips are not iframes, so you do need to be careful about that, and you need to time it correctly. Her 1st and her 3rd skill are very interesting. They're both directional skills, and they will move her counterclockwise or clockwise depending on which one you press, and then they just deal damage in the area. As well, you guys can't tell from World Boss, but almost all of her skills are also crowd control skills, so she is an absolute monster for Shadowlands. If you don't know how good she is for Shadowlands, you can check out some of the live streams. I can easily clear like a stage 18, 19 of Shadowlands soloing with Kate Bishop in under a minute. The damage is insane, and basically the enemies are locked down the entire time. We have a little bit of trouble here, so we're going to try to cast the team up. The team up with Hawkeye thankfully also casts her 5th skill, which is an instant iframe. In general, the skill rotation, as you guys saw there for Kate Bishop, is safely the 5 into the 4 into the 2, but you can rotate those differently depending on what the enemy is doing. If you see an opening, it's better to go with the 4 or the 2 because you need a little bit of time to wind up to the iframes. If you're in a lot of trouble, you need to cast the 5 immediately because that will protect you from damage, and then you just rotate through those skills. She's got low skill cooldown, so you shouldn't need to rotate any more of those skills, but you can also rotate in the 2 and the 3, or sorry, the 1 and the 3 when you do have a chance if you see an opening. As we can see here, if we take a closer look at the skills, multiple ones, we have a 3-second stun with a dot damage, we have a bleed effect with an all speed bonus, we have a stun, and then we have another stun. So just insane CC, fantastic for Shadowlands, fantastic for World Boss. I don't think I've cleared Thanos Infinity yet, or Infinity Thanos, but I have cleared all of the other days with her at tier 2. Very, very easy. I do think it's a little bit harder at tier 1, so I will put that out there as a disclaimer, because I do think Kate Bishop benefits a lot from her tier 2 passive. She does get a massive bump in both damage and survivability. But that being said, you can always, as I've already stated, farm her bios a little bit more slowly but consistently from Villain Siege, and she will make a welcome addition to your speed team. I would probably rank her damage at tier 2 somewhere in the range of or north of Gwenpool's tier 2 damage, which I think Gwenpool is regarded as the highest damage dealing speed character. I think the difference between Gwenpool and Kate Bishop is that at tier 1, I think Gwenpool out DPSs Kate Bishop, but I think at tier 2, Kate Bishop has more potential to out DPS, especially with the crazy crits that she can do. If you can get the crit rate and the crit damage up into the high numbers near the cap, she can start to crank out some insane damage. In addition to World Boss and Shadowlands, Kate Bishop is also fantastic. I think she's best in slot for the Speed Hero Universal or the Speed Hero Extreme Alliance Battle Day. We haven't had a best in slot, or we don't have one yet. So, in the meantime, until we get someone better, I do think that Kate Bishop is the #1 fit for that. And I do think that if you're building a team for the Extreme Alliance Battle Speed Hero team, this is what you want to go with. I have tested it out with different teams. I have tested it with like a damage dealing leadership like Elsa's, but I think this one is actually the best with her own leadership, Young Leader, because you do get almost 20% increased crit rate, which just boosts her damage to fantastic levels. And when you see those crits start rolling and the damage skyrocketing, it's just fantastic. So overall, I think that Kate Bishop is a fantastic character. I stand firmly by my claim that she is the best character from the Marvel Now update. I think she's way better than Medusa. I think she's way better than Ironheart. She does have a higher skill cap. She is harder to play as, but overall, I think she's much more rewarding. She's fun to play, and she competes very well in a lot of game modes, and especially for something like Corvus World Boss, which is very difficult for new players because they need to have dodge ignore strikers. As you guys can see there, I didn't have any dodge ignore strikers, and I easily beat him using just her own native 45% dodge ignore and her leadership. So that's the review for Kate Bishop, guys. Let me know what you think of the character. Let me know if you have her tier 2, what your scores have been in Extreme Alliance Battle, and what you've been doing with the newest Avenger, guys. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.